So, just finished a trip to Berlin, Germany, and there are some things that I noticed while I was there. There are some things that I thought to myself, wasn't expecting to see this, or didn't know Berlin, Germany does things like this. So, in this video, we're going to talk about them. For example, cash is more, well, let me start off saying this. You can use contactless payments pretty much everywhere around the city. Public transportation, many restaurants, supermarkets, etc., etc. But it's just cash was a little bit more. Basically, I needed cash more often than I expected. And it's going to be at establishments like some restaurants, cafes, small shops, bakeries, things of that nature. If you like to wander around the streets and visit random shops, small eateries, small cafes, make sure to have some cash with you, just a few euros. Because again, you're probably going to need cash more often than you think. Some of you guys may be surprised to know that college is free in Germany for the most part. I think there are some areas in Germany where it's not, but for the majority of the country, it's free. So meaning public schools, public universities, they don't charge tuition. And this is not only free for Germans, but also for international students. I believe there are some fees like semester fees and maybe some administrative fees, but for the most part, you're probably paying around 300, 500 euros, like $1,000, probably less than 2K to go to college in Germany. So for the most part, it's basically free. Now you may be wondering, well, how is that possible, Sly? Well, one way is obviously through the taxes paid by Germans. But another way, in my opinion, and no one's going to tell you this, is from the water at restaurants. What do you mean, Sly? In Germany, ordering tap water at a restaurant is a cardinal sin. They do not give you free complimentary tap water. If you go to a restaurant and you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to order, a schnitzel, a bratwurst, and I'm going to save a few bucks by just ordering a cup of water from the tap. Nope. If you try to do that, the waitress or waiter may roll their eyes at you and you increase your chances of having your food spit on. So just forget about ordering tap water. In Germany, there's free tuition, but no free tap water. Next up is the experience in the train. Now, I visited Berlin in the summertime. I haven't researched this, but maybe Germany is one of the countries that only gets sun 3-4 months out of the year. The reason why I say that is because in the trains, there is no AC, zero air conditioning, which surprised me. Riding the train in Berlin in the summertime is like a sauna. You might think, oh, maybe the AC is broke and they're fixing it, until you ride it again and again and again. And you notice that it's just always hot, at least in the summertime. And so that's one of the things that I was scratching my head on. I thought when it comes to Germany, the automotive engineering and manufacturing, and they got the trains and the Porsches and BMWs. I'm thinking, oh, okay, these metros are gonna have AC, but it's not the case. Okay, so if you're riding in the wintertime or fall, you'll probably be fine, but in the summertime it can get a little stuffy. Next up on the list is something that may not bother some of you all, but to maybe a lot of Americans, you may cringe at seeing this, but wearing gloves at restaurants, like the workers handling the food, is not a requirement. And you'll notice this, for example, if you go to Burger King, you'll see them making your burger with, at least I saw it, with no gloves on. And for some of you all who are thinking that's disgusting, I think there's research on this that wearing gloves is probably no more sanitary. Matter of fact, it might be worse, because most times people don't change their gloves. So you're touching the foods and you're touching other stuff. You're touching doorknobs. Some people might even touch currency. They might touch money. A lot of times when people wear gloves, it's sort of a false sense of security. Seeing a chef wear gloves looks sanitary, but in reality it's not, because they're most likely not changing them constantly. Whereas if you're using your hands, you can easily wash them. If you touch something, easily go to the sink, rub some foam, soap, rub real quick, and then rinse off, and then you're good. So some people are like, nah, Sly, I don't care. I want the person preparing my food to wear gloves. And I get that, but just know in Germany, it's not a requirement. Another thing that's surprising about Germany is they're known for following the rules and always being on time and punctual and things of that nature. So knowing that they have highways with no speed limits was surprising to me. Out of all the countries, I thought they would be one that for sure would have speed limits, but nope. I think the number is around 70% of the highways have no speed limits, so you can drive as fast as you want. I've read mixed reviews of why this is the case. I think the one that sounds pretty interesting is because of the automotive culture in Germany. If you got a BMW or a Porsche, of course you're going to want to test it out, push it to the limit. And so these highways give you the chance to do that. I don't think these highways increase the risk of, crashing. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure the government would have done away with this rule already. So I don't think it's a safety thing. I like the German car culture theory as to why there are no speed limits. However, I also heard that despite how this may sound, oh man, I can buy a Porsche and just drive 200 miles per hour. It's not really the case because there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of construction. So the chances of you being able to drive 200 miles an hour for a long time is probably not common. So we have 2 more on the list. The next one is escaping from jail is not a crime. And let me repeat that for those who are wondering. If you are a prisoner and you escape from jail, that is not a crime. Doesn't mean you won't go back to jail, but I don't think you'll have your sentence increased because you escaped. The reasoning behind this is they say that freedom, wanting freedom is a natural instinct. So they're not going to penalize you for that. However, if you escaped and you commit a crime while doing so, like you escaped and you murder someone, then yeah, you're going to have problems. But if you escape and they catch you a month later, you're not going to have your sentence increase from what I understand. Again, because it's wanting freedom is a natural thing. And last but not least, this point, many Germans may disagree with, but my experience was different in Berlin, is that personal space is not a thing. Maybe I wasn't around Germans, but a lot of people were close in public transportation, which you can say that, Berlin's a busy city. There's so many people. So of course they're going to be next to you. But sometimes waiting at the bus stop or the train stop, people would get close, and in restaurants and just out and about. People were a lot closer to me than I expected. Maybe they weren't Germans. Maybe they were mostly tourists or international folks. But that whole personal space thing didn't exist during my time in Germany. In Berlin. But either way, these are some things that I want to share with you all that I learned and experienced while in Berlin. I enjoyed my time there. These are the things that no one told me before visiting. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to catch you guys at the next one. Deuces.